Well, the East Coast has been focusing on Hurricane Bonnie. It's a hurricane once again. Central sections of the country this evening have been dealing with severe thunderstorms, and in the western United States, we've had ourselves another quiet day for the most part. You can see what's left of what was once Hurricane Howard, now a tropical storm, and even some of the moisture being pulled in ahead of Howard with this trough of low pressure that's sitting off the west coast. But no rain out of this. Some rains down here into Mexico, but nothing that's really worked its way into the southwest. And a fairly sizable storm up here in the Gulf of Alaska that'll have an impact in the northwest sometime over the weekend. We'll have details on all of those coming up in a moment. First, a check at the temperatures today in the western United States. And with high pressure in place, this big ridge of high pressure kept things dry and sunny. And so temperatures really warmed up. 109 today for a high in Phoenix, 98 in Medford. These were some of the warmer readings. But even in Reno, up in the higher elevations, 92 degrees today. Comfortable day down around San Diego, where the high reached 76, and Seattle also reported a high temperature of 76. Presently, temperatures are slowly cooling off, particularly where we had the warmer readings, obviously, in Phoenix, where currently we're 102, but notice Denver and Salt Lake City have cooled down into the mid-60s already, and along the coast here in San Francisco, 55, or I should say 56 degrees. Presently across the northwest, temperatures are along the 60s along the immediate coast, and then you head inland a little further and then over the mountains. We're still dealing mainly with 70-degree readings. Right now the Dow is reporting 79 degrees, one of our warmer readings. Down into California, where the valleys are in the 80s presently, Fresno at 89, but along the coast that marine influence very noticeable. 58 presently, San Francisco at 57 in Monterey. And into Southern California, the desert region still quite warm, but along the coast in Long Beach, 72, and Santa Barbara reporting 61 degrees. A very pleasant evening. Little tremor was reported this afternoon just north of Los Angeles, registering a little more than 3 on the Richter scale. Nothing reported here in California, Washington, or Oregon. And in southern Alaska, we also had an earthquake that was reported around 4 on the Richter scale. All right, around the entire country, here's the cold front and a trough of low pressure to the north. It's helping to generate some heavier rains and some thunderstorms. And here is Hurricane Bonnie, just off the coast of North Carolina. The latest stats on Bonnie indicate that it has strengthened back up to a hurricane with 75-mile-an-hour winds, moving off toward the northeast at 8 miles an hour. It's right near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. We've had reports near Elizabeth City of wind gusts up over 60 miles an hour. Now, the thing to keep in mind with Bonnie is that the hurricane force winds are off toward the east side and the south side. So for the coastal areas, you probably won't feel the effect of hurricane force winds, though you're likely to see tropical storm force winds, and that's winds over 39 miles per hour. Now, because you're going to feel the effects of a tropical storm force scenario, there are tropical storm warnings and watches out. The warnings from Cape Lookout, North Carolina, up to Smith Point. North of Smith Point, it becomes a tropical storm watch, and then along the coast continuing up to Watch Hill, Rhode Island, including Long Island Sound. Tropical storm watches, Buzzards Bay, Narragansett Bay, Cape Cod, around Falmouth and Nantucket. Obviously, we're going to be watching for the possibility come tomorrow's Friday, late Friday on into Saturday, of feeling some of the effects of Bonnie. Here's a close-up radar, and you can see what appears to be the center of Bonnie here, just off toward the east of Elizabeth City. Poor Norfolk is really seeing a rough night tonight as the rains just keep pounding the area. We've had reports of hundreds of people without electricity as a result of not only the heavy rains, but the very high winds that have been blowing there throughout the day. Portions of the Chesapeake Bay Tunnel were closed earlier. They could still be closed. Certainly a very unpleasant situation around Norfolk, Oceana, Langley, Hampton Roads, also around the Virginia Beach area. And Bonnie's going to be slow to move out, so this is going to be slow to improve. Now, our forecast for the entire nation for Friday shows a lot of warm, humid conditions all the way up into Philadelphia, and cooler, drier conditions starting off the day in the western United States with high pressure and offshore flow, a very nice day and a very hot day setting up. We'll also be watching this cold front working its way gradually through toward the east. St. Louis, some rain for you in the morning, should be drying out by afternoon, but moving in toward Indianapolis and Springfield, Illinois. Bonnie, in the meantime, continuing to trek up along the coast, not only with heavy rains, but also with some very gusty winds, and that'll be worth monitoring. Bonnie could produce some places more than 4 inches of rain, so flooding is a concern along parts of the mid-Atlantic. And as far as our temperatures go for Friday, a warm August day for much of the country again, particularly for the western United States. Now look at some extended travel forecasts.
Lose your glasses? Get a spare pair free when you buy a pair. Plus, enter to win a 1999 Saab 9.3 Turbo convertible right now at Pearl Vision.
Check the yellow pages for the location of a Pearl Vision near you.
#1-800-CONTACTS. Exact same contact lenses delivered to your door for less than you're paying now. Call 1-800-CONTACTS. Save the trip. Save the money.
We're here every morning to give you the weather information that you need to make plans for your day and to make your morning commute anywhere in the nation a little bit easier. Unexpected weather can really mess up your day, and preparing people for it is our business. Business is good.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
thank you for joining us here at the Weather Channel. You've joined us in time for Storm Watch, and we have a lot of storminess to tell you about. And usually when we talk about the tropics, we're talking about, pretty far away. But unfortunately, the tropics have come to us in the form of Hurricane Bonnie. And we will be talking both about what's going on in the tropics and also with what's happening as far as weather in other parts of the United States. Some stormy weather through the overnight into parts of the Central Plains and heading over in toward Missouri and Iowa. But first, let's get right into the tropical update, because we do have a lot to bring you in regards to Hurricane Bonnie. And starting off with our latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Bonnie, a minimal hurricane, 75 miles an hour. That makes it a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, but still packing some punch. It's southeast of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And I notice that there is no mileage marker there. That's because it is just southeast. And when you're talking about that few miles and you're trying to pinpoint a center on that, that just isn't practical here. It is moving northeast at 6 miles an hour. So we're not talking a speed demon here in terms of the storm moving away. You can jog, if you're in any kind of shape, you can jog at about 6 miles an hour. That's about a 10-minute mile. So we're not talking really a very quickly moving storm. Central pressure at about 986 millibars. Now, as we look at the watches and warnings that are out, you notice these are tropical storm watches and warnings. Although we do have hurricane force winds out there, because it is a hurricane after all, Hurricane Hunter aircraft have found that they're offshore for the most part. That's not to say that you couldn't see an occasional hurricane force gust onshore. And indeed, we've seen gusts up to about 60 miles an hour at Langley Air Force Base here in southeastern Virginia over the last hour or so. But for the most part, we're talking tropical storm force winds of between 39 and 73 miles an hour. Tropical storm warnings up from Cape Lookout, North Carolina, including Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, Chesapeake Bay south of Smith Point, all along the Delmarva Peninsula, all along the Jersey Shore, all along Long Island, and into Long Island Sound up to Watch Hill, Rhode Island. Notice the watches here on Cape Cod, Narragansett Bay, and reaching over to Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. Would not be surprised at all if Bonnie continues to track northeast here to see these posted to warnings sometime during the day on Friday. Let's look at the current situation. Here is Bonnie. Notice that we're not seeing a lot of activity, seeing a diminishment of the activity here in the center. Perhaps that's some good news. Hopefully the storm will weaken again and perhaps drop back down to tropical storm force. But notice this right here. This is like a fire hose being pointed right at southeastern Virginia. Norfolk has seen flooding. 200,000 people without power, and there's no way those power crews are going to be able to get out there and do anything about that until the winds die down. And it's just a mess in here. So please don't try and drive around out here. Norfolk city officials reported earlier having problems with sightseers going out to look at everything. Bad idea. Bad idea. Stay at home. You're safest there, and you don't want to get yourself in trouble and put other people at risk trying to rescue you. You can see much of the action here on the northern periphery of the storm, and it is moving very slowly to the northeastward. So do stay with the Weather Channel.